If you look at the celebrity model, it's a one-to-many approach. They're gonna be looking at price, and they're gonna be charging less and less because the idea is that you're spreading that around millions of potential subscribers. In this relational approach, there's higher value. So you also have to be comfortable around charging different things and actually valuing your skills and time. You are a very important, valuable person. So you want to treat yourself as such, and your clients will respond that way too.
Welcome to Marketing and Mindset for Wellness Coaches, the podcast for health coaches and wellness entrepreneurs just like you who are building a business, making the world a healthier place, and designing a first-class life. I'm your host, Kim Foster, MD and certified business coach, and I'm on a mission to help you up-level your strategy and raise your mindset so you can truly thrive and grow your business. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. Today on the show, I'm going to be talking to Alex Haley, who is the co-founder of an online platform called OfferingTree. Now, if you haven't heard of OfferingTree, this is an online platform that is designed specifically for wellness professionals to help them grow their businesses. Alex and I, in our conversation, we talk about a lot of different aspects of growing a business online as a wellness entrepreneur specifically, and also some of the pitfalls and the challenges of launching your business online today. Now, let me tell you a bit about Alex. Besides being the co-founder of OfferingTree, he also holds a JD and an MBA from the University of Minnesota. And he has a ton of work experience in business and law and the wellness industry, including teaching meditation retreats at meditation centers throughout the United States. Alex's work and expertise have been featured on a variety of places, including The Big No, Public Radio, Mashable.com, and numerous podcasts. Alex knows firsthand the complexity and struggles of professionals within the health and wellness industry, particularly around the overwhelm of managing a business while being present for your clients. I think you're going to get a lot of valuable information out of listening to our conversation. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, today I am very excited to be chatting with Alex Haley. Welcome to the show, Alex. I am so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here.
Great. Yeah. Now, Alex, you have got a really fascinating background, and I would love for you to introduce yourself and just tell our listeners about who you are and what you do.
Sure. Yeah, I'd say my background is a little atypical. So I joke a little bit with some of my family and friends that I basically was pursuing two paths at the same time that usually didn't talk to each other. So on one side, I was sort of pursuing a typical sort of analytical, that sort of reasoning logic. So I was studying law, business, economics. I was being trained in all these different disciplines to think analytically. At the same time, I was spending all of my free time and vacation studying contemplative practices, everything from Qigong, yoga, meditation, coaching, you name it. And the joke is that I would hang out with my contemplative communities, and they would look at a lot of my other communities that were in the business or legal or economics world, and they would say, those people really need to get a life. And then when I would hang out with the business and economics and those people, they would look at my contemplative folks and say, those people really need to get a job. And I would say, you guys, you have so much to learn from each other. So I ended up being a translator, and that's what I do a lot. I sort of try to bring the worlds together, and a lot of what I do these days is more through the medium of science, as that being a way to translate between groups. And there's a lot more collaboration that's happening these days. So in a nutshell, that's kind of my high-level summary of my background.
Right. That's awesome. I just love how you became like a translator for these two very different worlds, or seemingly very different, right? But I'm sure that there's a lot of potential overlap, and I'm sure that you found that sweet spot. Actually, I mean, I would actually really love to dig a little bit more into your story, because you've got a JD and an MBA, right? And now, of course, you're the co-founder of this company called OfferingTree. Like, just tell us a little bit more about that journey that actually brought you to what you're doing now.
Yeah, happy to. So, yep, you're correct that. So, my background, I studied economics, business, and law, and actually, I'm currently now. This is the most recent iteration in a cognitive science PhD program. So that's the science piece as sort of a translator between worlds.
Oh,
So that's where I landed.
oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
so the how I ended up with OfferingTree, its sort of origin story is I was working at a donation-based yoga studio. I was teaching meditation retreats. I was even doing some coaching, and I kept running into the same problem over and over again. And it was highlighted actually at one moment when I was working at this yoga studio where I was a co-manager. They had implemented a new software system, and this was considered the gold standard for software. It totally killed the community vibe. They were a
Mm.
small donation-based studio, very community focused, very relational, and what was happening is all the teachers were spending time staring down at an iPad trying to get the system to work and not talking with the students and clients that were coming through the door. So the owners pulled the plug, they turned to me and they said, "You know something about technology, you know a bunch about business. Can you solve this?" And so I picked up the phone and I called another one of my friends, and he called two of his friends, and that was the origin of OfferingTree.
Oh, that's so interesting. So it really came out very organically from like basically just meeting a need that was in existence.
Exactly. Yeah, and we ended up talking to probably around 100 people in all different disciplines. So meditation, yoga, massage, coaching, fitness, and we were hearing the same pain points over and over again. And we said, okay, this seems like it's a bigger problem, and that's when we set out to create OfferingTree.
Hmm. Okay. Well, I definitely want to hear more about offering tree. Actually, what you just said though was so interesting because when you said that the yoga instructors, it was completely breaking their connection with their community. I actually that totally makes me think of when because I practiced medicine for many years, and when we many years ago switched from paper charts to EMR, like electronic medical records. So we were taking our notes on the computer, staring at our computer screen, and I remember like that switch happened and we were in a meeting, all the physicians, and we were all commenting on how it was great to have everything on electronic medical records, of course, like welcome to the 21st century, but it really changed the connection with our patients who were sitting in there in the room with us and we're typing and looking up results on the computer screen and it really changed that connection and rapport.
Yeah, and I think it's one of the probably least discussed aspects that I think a lot about these days. So, if I take your example, this is my legal side coming in back when I was practicing in this space more. One of the indicators, and I think it's still true, it's been several years since I've looked, but listeners, you can check this out and see if it's still accurate. Used to be the case that the number one reason why doctors got sued for malpractice was a lack of bedside manner.
Mm,
Guess what contributes to a lack of bedside manner? Staring at a screen and not looking at somebody eye to eye and, being in emotional resonance with them when you're talking to them. So I
yes.
think it's a huge issue, and I think it's something that's also very underappreciated for solo business owners or small business owners. That there's endless number of possibilities of software configurations that are out there, and yet what is often talked about is like, oh, what are all the features? What's all the things I need? How does all this work? The metaphor that I tend to use a lot these days is like you want your technology to always be in the background, and you want what you're doing, whether that's coaching, teaching, meditation, massage, to be in the foreground. And it's very similar to like the plumbing or the wiring in your apartment or your house. You want to be very confident that it works. But if you are spending a lot of time looking at your own plumbing and your own wiring in your apartment or your house, you're not really living in your house and enjoying it. And so the same thing is true with technology. You don't want to become an IT person. You don't want to be digging in there and having to figure out plugins and why they don't work. You want all of that to be in the background and to trust that it works so that you can do the really important stuff that only you can do, which is interacting with your clients.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's so true. And I mean, certainly so many of the people in my community now, like coaches, they're of course running an online business, But really, the main thing that they want to be doing is connecting with their clients, not messing about with technology. And many people express, that technology is frustrating for them. It's not really the most enjoyable part of running their business. Of course, it's necessary. But I love that analogy of it should be just running in the background with complete confidence and, that you don't have to worry that it's going to break down or fail. But it shouldn't be like, you're not turning into an IT person, like you said. That's a great analogy. Okay, so talking about OfferingTree, then tell me a bit more about this platform that you created. I'd love to hear a bit more about that.
Yeah. So what we really tried to do is we're trying to meet very core set of needs. And one of the things that we did that was important to us as a company is we're actually founded as a benefit company. So we have a stated public benefit mission. And basically what that means is that we are required every year to report on what we do and how we basically positively impact society. And then what are the ways that we do that? So our stated mission is to further education and access to wellness. That's what our public benefit mission is. So we try to do that in a number of ways, primarily through the software. And what we're going for is we're trying to take all of the different things that you might need if you were, whether it's you alone or you with a few others running a small business, put it all together into one place at one price, and then you don't have to go piecemealing all these different components together. And we want it to be simple to use, so you don't need a technology degree to figure it out. We want you to also have community support so that there are others that you can reach out to. We have a whole bunch of educational materials that we provide. And then we also want it to be immediate. We want it to be something that you can get up and running in under 30 minutes. So those are sort of like the watermarks of what we use to assess what we're doing. Now, we're, like everyone, we're a work in progress and constantly aspiring to make it better, which is why one of the pillars for us is really taking feedback from our community. So all of the features we have were based on direct feedback from our users. And that's what I think is our sort of secret sauce, is that we really listen and we aspire to kind of co-create what we're doing based on the feedback that we're hearing so that it's really useful to you, as opposed to, hey, we thought this was cool, check it out.
I love that. And I especially love the up and running in 30 minutes piece of things. I'm sure that's going to be music to the ears of my listeners also. But okay, so to walk us through, like, what actually can Offering Tree do for, a wellness coach who's running her online business, for example?
Yeah. So to get very specific, we will cover everything from website builder, so you can build your entire website through us. We have a lot of ways you can customize it, design it. I know there's a lot of interest in, like, well, can I color code this button? Yep, we can let you do that.
Hmm.
So you can build your website with us. We host everything for you. We do all the scheduling, whether that's in person or online, and we allow you to directly integrate with Zoom because most people use Zoom. If you
Mhm.
don't use Zoom, you can use something else, but we'll handle all of that, sort of the back end setup and making sure that the links get emailed out and there's a confirmation email that goes out. So anything related to scheduling. We also do one-on-one appointments, so whether you're doing these large groups or one-on-one appointments, we sort of cover the range of scheduling. We also then include payment processing, so if you want to do memberships, if you want to do packages, if you want to do just one-time payments, you can do that. If you want to do like an on-demand video library, you can
Hmm.
do that. We also have promotions. So if you're running promotions, you can run promotions directly from the system. And then the last thing that we kind of include, which is a major pillar, is around the sort of like email marketing. So newsletters, if you want to have a freebie that you give out to new clients, we can set that up so it automatically gets sent out. You can set up automatic emails to go out to clients that are joining your newsletter. So we put all of that together in one place in one dashboard, so you don't have to go piecing it together.
That's amazing because, yeah, I mean, trying to get all these different tools. I mean, of course, as you know, there's a ton of different tools and platforms, and to try to get it all integrating and working together can be a major headache. I definitely hear that from many of my clients. So your platform, it's all in one, like website, email, your offers, your programs, payment, all that stuff can happen there.
Yep, you got it. And what we try to do is we put it together all so that you can see it and you know what the price is, and it's right there. And then we have educational videos that walk you through how to use it. And then we're starting to build out a lot more of mini courses. So what we're finding is that a lot of our users are wanting to get more education in marketing or wanting to get more education in business. So part of our platform also includes a whole education component that not only gives you the tools, but then teaches you how to use them.
I love that. Okay, yeah, and it's built specifically for people in the wellness space, right? Like that's kind of what you guys are focused on, yes?
Yep, that's exactly right. So we started out in the health and wellness space, and that is our focus. So I would say the bulk of our users are in yoga, but we have coaches, we have meditation, we have massage therapists, we have different healing modalities like Reiki, things like that. So we have a whole community of practitioners that kind of spans the health and wellness space.
That's awesome. That's perfect. Okay, so I mean, I was just thinking, like, yeah, as you know, my listeners, for the most part, they're wellness entrepreneurs at various stages of growing their business, and in this age of online business, it's really easy to feel a certain amount of pressure to basically be like a celebrity to be successful. So, I would actually love to hear your thoughts on this. Like, do we actually need to become online celebrities in order to build a successful business?
I would say categorically no. And I will tell you why. In fact, I was just, I think this was a couple of weeks ago, giving a presentation, and the title of it was Don't Be a Celebrity, a Relational Approach to a Sustainable Business.
Hmm.
And the reason for that title is that, yes, it can feel very daunting. It can feel overwhelming. A lot of times we hear our users talk about feeling completely overwhelmed, and what our sort of emotional promises that we try to make is that we'll help you move from feeling overwhelmed to confident. That's our goal, so that you feel more confident in knowing how to proceed and what works. So, from our perspective, what we've seen, just as you described, there has been a huge change, and the ramifications of everything that has changed and still is changing, it's not clear yet. So, we are still learning, I think, as everyone is. But what we can say, based on those that are successful that we've seen on our platform, is that they understand what I would call this relational approach to building a sustainable business. And the way this works is that I can sort of set up a contrast. So if you think about on one end, some sort of like big extreme, and I often pick on Peloton just because they're easy to pick on. So that's why I'm using them. I don't have any like, hard feelings against Peloton, but they're just in the news a lot. And
Hmm.
so let me use them as the example, and then I'll contrast it with the approach that I'm recommending. Peloton takes a celebrity approach. And what I mean by that is they have a person who looks like some sort of superhuman being that is like super fit, super glossed, and has like lights just beaming off of them because they're in a studio with like a professional team that's doing lighting, there's sound, there's videographers, there's all these different things that are going on, and they are literally beaming out their class to millions of Peloton subscribers around the world from their studio somewhere in New York or wherever they happen to be filming. That model is a celebrity model, and the way it works, the sort of economics of it, is it's a one to many approach. So you don't really have, it's not like the instructor for Peloton has a very close relationship with you. Now Peloton might say, no, no, they totally know you. Like there's a leaderboard, but the instructor doesn't know you.
Hmm.
There's no way, because there's no way that that model can support that kind of relationship building. And so, what I think the challenge is that many of us see that, whether it's whoever the big names are within the space, we see those celebrities and we go, well, that's the only model. Well, the reality is that I think that's sort of like the 1%. For the remaining 99% of us, we need to think about, well, what would it be like to have the middle class of health and wellness? And I think what that involves is actually shifting the model to this relational approach. And I'll use the metaphor of sort of friends and family to help explain it.
Hmm.
The idea is that you start to develop a tiered approach to what you're doing. On the outer ring, this would be like your acquaintance. Those people that are, in your life, they're acquaintances, but you don't really have a strong relationship with them. You'll interact with them on occasion. They're friendly. They're interested in what you're doing, and this would be comparable to, having your website, making sure that you've got a social media presence, having some kind of freebie that you might give out to people that are interested in what you're doing. It's sort of that one to many approach, right? You're just putting it out there so people can check you out. And then if they're interested, they can follow up and learn more. That's the sort of outer ring. The next ring, if I use this friends and family metaphor, is friends. Those are people that are actually interested in supporting you. They're interested in getting updates and knowing what's going on. They're really in your community. That's a one to some approach. So it's a smaller group of people,
Hmm.
but within that group of people, they're interested in some of what you're doing. So this is where you would have on demand digital content. You'd have challenges, you'd have special events or one time workshops. So you're going to be appealing to this friend circle, which is not quite as far out or as large as acquaintances, but it's a closer inner ring, and there's going to be more potential for building additional relationships. The next level in is sort of extended family. And in my metaphor, I'm assuming family of choice. So if you're hearing me and you go, I hate my family, that's okay. Just assume family of choice. So within this next inner ring, this extended family, it's a one to few. So it's even fewer people. But in that inner ring of this extended family, they really want to connect with you and they're willing to support you at a bigger level. They want to be aware of your major events. They're looking for more of a high touch personal experience, and they're looking for greater access and connection. So it's much more two way in that sort of in this space of the extended family ring. And so this would be things like live events, whether they're in person or online, providing memberships and packages. So really providing the opportunity for that greater access and connection. Now, the innermost ring is immediate family. So this is that group of people, and it's like almost it's sort of like comparable to a one-to-one. It's like those select individuals that are part of the immediate family. They're with you through thick and thin. They're looking for personal attention. They are your ambassadors. These are the ones where you have a lot of two-way communication. And this is where you might offer private coaching sessions, you might have training sessions, you're going to have exclusive offerings that are just for those people that are sort of in the immediate family. So when I look at the users on our system, the ones that are really thriving have figured out how to provide offerings at each of those levels: the acquaintances, the friends, the extended family, and the immediate family, and understanding that the offerings are different at each of those levels.
I love that. That is just such a great way of conceptualizing this whole idea and like that whole framework. And I especially love the contrast to the celebrity model because, and I know that my listeners are breathing a like this is relief for them because you're right. Like we have this idea that it's so visible, it's so in our face, like big time influencers and celebrities and all of that. So you of course naturally it's a natural conclusion to be like, okay, well that's what I have to do too if I want to actually be successful. But I love how you just broke that down to describe a totally different way of interacting with your community and potential clients. Way more, like you say, relational. So I really appreciate that framework.
Yeah, thanks. It's something I think a lot about. And there's a little hidden piece, which I'll just name here.
Mhm.
If you look at the celebrity model, one of the ways that it operates is because it's a one to many approach. They're going to be looking at price, and they're going to be charging less and less because the idea is that you're spreading that around millions of potential or thousands or hundreds of thousands of potential subscribers. In this relational approach, it actually there's higher value. So you also have to be comfortable around charging different things and actually valuing your skills and time and trusting that others see the value of that. So it also gets a little bit into the taboo around money. And so I just want to name that for listeners because if you try to adopt this relational approach, but also don't recognize that in that sort of celebrity model, what they're doing is they're deliberately, kind of cutting down the cost because they're spreading it out over thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of people. You might get into a little bit of a tough situation where you go, well, wait a minute, I did this approach, I listened to this guy on the podcast, and yeah, it works, but I'm not making any money. So don't forget to value your expertise and time, because just like in that relational family network, you are a very important, valuable person. So you want to treat yourself as such, and your clients will respond that way too.
I am so appreciative that you brought that up because I love that. I mean, I talk about money and premium pricing and that kind of value based approach all the time because yeah, you're right. Like again, it's so easy to you look at what people quote unquote out there are charging, and if it's one of these like big time influencers, celebrities, and you can see that it seems so much lower than like how can you possibly make a living charging that when you have such a small reach. And so yes, then it feeds into that conclusion that you have to have this massive audience. But if you flip the pricing model and you're charging premium pricing for that high touch VIP relationship that you're developing with your clients, then it's just it's a totally different model.
Yeah, it is. It's a completely different model. And I think that's where I see people getting into trouble when they don't recognize that it's different. And, we can even be a little bit more precise because I think it might be helpful for everyone sort of, listening to get a sense of what would that mean. So, yeah, well, what is he talking about? Well,
Mm.
I can give you, these are just hypothetical. So it's not like I'm, benchmarking this off of anything. And it's going to depend based on what you're offering and also which area you're in. So I know a lot of your listeners are coaches. And so, the particular numbers are going to vary, but here's the idea. So let's say that you had 100 students or clients, and your goal, let's say you're a solo coach, your goal is to be able to make some sort of sustainable livelihood for yourself based on your coaching. So your target number is, 100 students or clients. Now, this doesn't mean that 100 students, you're thinking, oh my gosh, what is he saying? 100 students or clients? Like, there's no way I could possibly do that number of coaching sessions. I'm not saying that they all are interacting with you on a one-on-one level. It just means that maybe there are 100 people at those various rings that are somehow involved with what you're doing. So if you take that number and you can make it smaller, right? So if you were to make it 50 or you were to make it 25, then it would just mean that the amount of support you're getting on a monthly basis is going to vary based on those students or clients. So at the 100 student level, and that means they're interested in your on-demand content, they might be interested in your special events that you do one time a year or your training, you're looking at about $65 to $85 a month per student or client. And now that's spread out on a monthly basis. So you might
Mhm.
have one event that's very, high touch, high profile once a year that costs much more, but on average, $65 to $85 a month. And if you're in that $85 a month range with about 100 students or clients sort of in your orbit at those different levels, you're looking at about over $100,000 in income for the year.
Mm.
So that breaks it down. And if you're like a business owner, right, you might be looking at more 200 to 300 because it's a small business, you can support more, and you're looking at a support level of 100 a month spread out over the year. That's going to be in the ballpark of what we might think of sustainable. Now, you can play with these numbers and tweak them and change them. And of course, you can increase the amount and spread the costs, over different events. But I just wanted to share that because it's very different than like, okay, I'm going to start with 10,000 followers or 5,000 followers. It's like, no, you can actually start with a much smaller universe of people.
Yeah, that's great. I love how you broke that down and give us just a frame of reference because I know that you're right. Like when you said money is sort of this taboo subject and that people do hesitate to talk about real numbers. So I love that you just gave us some actual real numbers because that's what's required. We got to talk about these things. Okay, amazing. Well, we are actually just about out of time, Alex, but this has been so great. I want to hear all your details in terms of where listeners can go to connect with you. But before we do that, just any final words of wisdom for our listeners out there, maybe people who are feeling overwhelmed when it comes to building their business and taking care of all the systems that need to get taken care of. Like if you just had one takeaway to give to our listeners, what would that be?
I would say the biggest takeaway is what you do matters. And it matters more now than ever because we are coming out of and still are in the midst of,
Mm,
I shouldn't quite
mm.
say it that way. We're still in the midst of this incredible traumatic experience that we've all been going through. And so, in this space of coaching and health and wellness, what you do really matters. And the more of you that are able to get online, it's going to help with the skyrocketing rates of anxiety, of depression, of all these other just consequences of the pandemic that we've been going through, as well as everything else in terms of the racial reckoning, in terms of the health disparities, the economic disparities, climate change. what you do matters. That's the biggest thing I would take away from this conversation. And the technology piece, you can find people to help you with that
Mm.
and really focus on what you're putting into the world that makes a difference because, the technology stuff, that's solvable. The harder stuff is what all of your listeners are doing.
I love that. I couldn't agree more, and what a great note to end on for sure. So, okay, like I said before we go, where can our listeners go to learn more about you and, of course, about OfferingTree and connect with you and all those things?
Yeah, easiest way to find me is you can go to OfferingTree. You can look me up there. You can also just Google me. I do various events sort of around the country teaching and different things. So just search for me online, and the easiest way is just to find me at OfferingTree.
Okay, perfect. Well, thanks again, Alex. It's been so great talking to you.
Oh, likewise. It's been a privilege. Thank you so much for having me on today's podcast.
Yeah, my pleasure. Well, I hope that you enjoyed that conversation, and I hope that you got a lot of useful information out of listening to Alex's wisdom. I would love to hear your thoughts, and especially I'd love to hear what your one key takeaway was. Let me know by finding me on Instagram and share your insights. Okay, that is a wrap for today. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Next week, I'll be taking a 1-week hiatus to fully enjoy the holiday and to be completely present for my family. I wish you and your families a wonderful holiday season, and I will see you on the other side in January, and we will celebrate the new year together. Take care, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Now, if you enjoyed this episode and you're excited to take your coaching business to the next level, then I would love to invite you to attend my free online class called How to Build a Six-Figure Health Coaching Business Using One Signature Program. And that's even if you're a brand new coach. I will be revealing the 3 behind-the-scenes secrets to financial freedom without exhaustion, burnout, or being a slave to social media. In this free class, you'll learn the exact blueprint to having the impact and life you desire, even if you're not sure how to make it happen right now. I'll also tell you about the single biggest mistake new health and wellness coaches make and what to do instead. And I'll be teaching you exactly how to design a signature program step by step, including how to price your offer. And yes, I give you real numbers. To attend this class, all you have to do is sign up at drkimfoster.com/6figures and reserve your seat for free. I will see you there.